Hey guys, it's Vanny as well, Banger Cafe Banger Deck Profiles. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna like, comment, subscribe, and show me. This time we're covering Dark States DZ Set 5 for Oselargest. So Oselargest, fun fact, was I believe it was the DZ set start boss that I was the most interested in before we actually got the skills of, and the one I actually liked the skill the most when they first dropped. And then it has now slowly become the deck I actually like the least because the deck feels like it wants to do one thing with its support, and the Vanguard wants to do a completely different thing. Kind of in the same way as Triumph Dragon, but Triumph Dragon is different in the sense of a lot of its, like, the generic support cards of Dragon Empire can fit well to whatever Triumph Dragon build you really want to go for, but Orsolar just feels like it will never go that way. But let's get this started and see what we got. First of the day, we have our Energy Generator. It's our Ride Deck Crest. You have a Ride Deck Crest in your Ride Deck. Auto Ride Deck. When you ride, put a card to your Crest, then you second Energy Charge 3. Continues to have energy. It'll be got to be in red phase, energy charge 3, then act once per turn, energy by 7, draw a card. Cool, so you get a free 3 energy every turn. Like I said in the Trap Deck profile, it doesn't really matter because your main grade 3 requires 4 energy, so there will be turns where you don't get to end up having the energy skill, so the energy 3 is kind of not the greatest, and then act once per turn, energy by 7, draw a card. So if for some reason your plan wasn't to try to Oselargest beat down your opponent, you can use the energy to draw a card, but that will put you in such a massive deficit because 7 of your energy is going to that, meaning if you don't have any energy left over from whatever reason, that means the next energy charge 3 you get is only going to leave you at 3 energy, meaning you won't be able to use Oselargest. So be very careful when using that draw skill. So obviously we have to have a Ride Deck Crest here because it's the thing that gets this energy. Moving on to our starter, we have Cavity Malgia, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto run pipe, second draw card, standard starter, to freeze, draw if you go second. You can run on any starter you want. I choose to make it Cavity Malgia because it's the canonical starter of Oselargest, and that's the only reason why it's here. Moving on to our triggers, first we have Overtrigger and Terrifying Wicked Dragon King Fan Freeze. Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Overtrigger, Overtrigger in your deck, and reveal it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one use. It gets plus movement for the turn. If you vote it during a draw check, activate its adjust effect, which you get during your turn. All your Vanguards get 1000 power plus 1 critical for the fight. Cool. So if you draw check this in the early game, your Vanguard, who does allow you to get 4 attacks in a turn, gets an extra 10k and an extra crit. So, you know, you can pressure out your opponent. The only downside with this is, it just, again, I say, the deck feels like it wants to do something, and then, like, the Vanguard 3 feels completely different from it, but hey, you know, an extra pressure for the Vanguard, especially if you pull early enough, because that ability lasts for the rest of the fight, is pretty solid. You can Ravona for more consistent multi-attack, and you can run a Sphoria for recycling, though out of all the Overtriggers, I wouldn't recommend that one for this one. You can run the Dark Overtrigger for healing and calling, but I prefer Van Freeze because I just like running the Nation Overtriggers, and I mean, if you do pull this early enough, your opponent's pretty much dead from the get-go, because plus 10k and a crit to your Vanguard, regardless of what grade you're at and what grade your opponent's at, is pretty good for pressure. Moving on to normal tricks, we have 3 copies of Rouse Wild Master Riley, and 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continues guard circle. If your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 regarder, she's 5,000 shield, she knows she's a 10k shield, she's a draw trigger, so she helps increase the hand, adds a little bit more guard power in the late game as well, which does come in helpful when you're trying to maneuver around your board, which you kind of effed up on by calling a bunch of units in the early game, and now you're only stuck with triggers and or grade 1. So 3 copies of Riley, nice grade 1 or nice trigger to have for increasing hand and, you know, having shield power. Moving on, we have 8 crits in total, 4 copies of Darfodol Bethany, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power. You can run on any crit you want. I choose to make it Bethany because she came in the DZ start deck with Oselargest, so I feel like it's a canonical crit. And then we have 4 copies of Stem Deviate Dragon, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power. You can make this any crit you want, but if you try to be like me one game and then just spam Tilligan because you feel so bad that you never use it, I would suggest you run Stem Deviate because you will run into a soul problem if you try that. The 2k won't make a difference unless you're using a very specific board presence, but I mean, being able to go to soul and allow you to soul blast more is pretty solid, so a nice 8 crit for the pressure. And then we have 4 heals and Joyful Songster, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, nothing about it. You can run on anything you want, just like Bethany over here. She is here because she was in the DZ start deck along with Oselargest, so Songster gets the 4 of. Let me move on to our grade 1s. First, we have 3 copies of Dangerous Thrower. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and rope placed on rear guard circle. Choose a grade 3 or greater card with Oselargest in the card name from your drop zone. And you may bot deck it. If you chose a card, check the top 5 for up to 1 card Tilligan in the card name from among them. Reveal it, put it to hand, shuffle your deck. And if you put a card into your hand, ditch a card from your hand, and this unit gets Tilligan power for the turn. Okay, so she can get you a Tilligan out. The only downside is she requires an Oselargest and drop, and then she bot decks it. But I mean, hey, if you have happen to draw a copy into your opening hand, you can just discard and send it back because Oselargest is going to search it back out with its own skill. So it is nice to have that, and it does end up searching out Tilligan, who is very good for at least trying to refill the hand when it's not killing your soul. And it's just a nice grade 1 support to have in general. I would say this though, if I had access to the counter charging grade 1 for Oselargest, I would not have this here, or not the counter charging grade 1, the energy charging grade 1. And the only reason that card is not here here is because I only run promos when they have English arts. If that card has an English art, then I'm unaware of it, but otherwise, I unfortunately am not running it here, so 3 copies of Dangerous Thrower until that grade 1 comes out. But if that grade 1 is out in English, or it's coming out in English soon, put that grade 1 over this at 4 copies. And then, of course, if you put out that 4 copies, put this down to 3 copies. But we have Steam Perform with Tudia. So grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto when placed on rearguard circle. Not when placed on rearguard circle, that's she boosted. If your unit was placed on rearguard circle from this turn, doesn't matter. If this unit was placed on rearguard from soul, doesn't matter. If another unit on your board was placed on rearguard from soul, doesn't matter if the unit boosted was placed from soul. As long as something on your board was placed from soul this turn, retire this unit, choose a grade 3 rearguard card or stars and card name from your soul or drop zone, bot deck, and if you chose a card, choose any of your player's rearguards and put it to soul. Okay. It can get rid of one of your opponent's rear guards and eat it to soul, or soul charge you one. Tudia is not bad, but again, with the requirement of needing another Oselargest and drop zone for her skill, makes it so not worth it, because that means you want to throw a bunch of Oselargest and drop. Also, the fact that she sends any rear guard to soul, it feels like there was no theme, because this also requires you to, play something from soul. So if you're not playing other cards that superior call from soul, Tudia is not the greatest. She's not a bad grade 1, I just wish she was better. And this is kind of like what I mean, especially when we get to like Tilligan, because Tilligan being, Soul Blast 2 cards, technically 3 cards in a turn if you use both of his abilities, and you're trying to superior call from Soul, unless you build your deck really Soul Charge heavy, I guarantee you're going to run into a Soul problem at some point in time. So, 4 of Tudia, she's a nice way to recycle your Soul and I guess get more resources back or just screw over your opponent's board, but she would be a 3 if we had the grade 1 superior call itself over this, so there's that. Moving on to 4 copies of Squish Compressor, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, continues rear guard or guard circle. If your vanguard's a grade 3 or greater or so largest, these units intercept from back row, and extra 5k shield. So, it's a 10k interceptor, she can intercept from back row, he, she, they, them, whatever the hell, and not to mention the fact that it allows you to basically early game rush your opponent, call this card to back or rear guard circle, call this card to front rear guard circle. If your opponent doesn't kill it, then cool, you now have an interceptor that's a 10k shield once you hit grade 3, and you can just pressure out your opponent in the early game with it. All around, not a bad grade 1 to have. I do like having it in this deck, and I like running it in all of the DZ sets start decks because I like playing the aggressiveness a little bit, so 4 copies of Squish Compressor. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Ridicule Disruptor, grade 1 boost, 0 souls, K base, contains Sentinel, you perform Sentinels in deck on this put on guard circle, choose how many units, it cannot be hit in battle. If your hand has 2 more cards in it, choose a card from your hand, guard is standard PG. Nothing just best about it. Basically, that means if this is only one of the cards in your hand placed on guard circle, you don't have to discard. It's great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, spam the hell out of these 3 regardless if you can use their skills or not, and then your opponent eventually counterattacks you for having little hand cards. If you are not me, you throw down this PG and you give your opponent the middle finger. If you are me, you pray on your deck that the 4 heals that are still in there while you're at 4 or 5 damage show up so you can live, because otherwise you are dead on the virtues that you just didn't draw PG that entire game. So 4 Radical Disruptor, I do like having her in the deck. You could run, I'm trying to remember what the PGs are because I always get these confused with the Brancate ones. The Rescue Hate Dragon, or what's the other one? Repelled Malice Dragon. They both have the same skill as Ridicule Disruptor. I just used to make it Ridicule Disruptor because she came out close to the time of Oselargest release. Then we have our main grade 1 of the deck, one of in the red deck and on the main deck, a featuring Balancer, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and Rotopon by Steam Trimmer and Nebuchador, Soul Charge 2, choose one of your vanguards, give 5,000 power for the turn, and then continues rear guard. If your vanguards are grade 3 or greater or so large, just give this unit 5,000 power. Okay, cool. I like the fact that he gives the vanguard an extra 5k, so basically the turn you ride to grade 2, the grade 2 is going to be a 15k, so you don't even have to call grade 1 behind it, because now no matter what, if your opponent drops a 15k on its attack, it's still going to be a 1 to pass. So nice that it can increase the vanguard's power while also getting you 2 free soul. And if you call it to rear guard when you're grade 3, it's a 13k as well. And while it's not your main superior call target via Oselargest ability, because that's the only way you're going to get this thing out of soul, at least if you do call via Oselargest ability, it's going to be 23k, 10 from Oselargest skill, and then 5 from his own skill. So one featuring balance on the ride deck, and a deck that's superior call from soul, you don't need to have more than a 1 of in the ride deck, but hey, it's nice that it gets the soul, and nice that it gets the grade 2 attack pressure, and it's not a worst case superior call target, so 1 of in the ride deck. Moving on to our grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Steam Gunner Tiskar. Something I really like about Tiskar is the way her art lines up. This little steel bar in the background lines up so perfectly with the grade 2 that I always think like this is a dual nation card or that it's a Brantgate card. I don't know, it just feels like it has its own special nation symbol next to it, and I don't know why, it just looks cool to me. Either way, Steam Gunner Tiskar, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, the card that really made me like these ride deck discard fodder cards. Auto and put on guard circle from hand, or discard from your hand while riding from the ride deck, CB1 or EG Blaster to draw a card, and then auto and when placed on rearguard circle, if your persona of this turn, CB1 or energy blast 3, and you may soul charge 1 until end of this turn, this unit get boost and 5,000 power. Armor pretty solid because that's not a mandatory soul charge on the persona right turn skill, so if you just have an extra CB laying around, you can just free soul charge to free soul charge, and this unit will be a 15k booster for that turn. And if you don't want to soul charge because you're afraid of decking out or afraid you're going to lose a trigger, then just don't soul charge, and she'll still be a 15k with a boost. Armor pretty solid, and again, with her being able to be discarded or just used as guard power for, you know, any means, to just be able to CB and able to draw a card, which could, in case of guarding, possibly get you a PG or a card that combined with her guard powers enough to block and attack. Or in the case of just guarding for ride deck, I mean, it might be some key piece like a Ridicule Disruptor or a Squish Compressor or whatever you need in that turn. So all around, I like really running Tizcar in the deck. Again, she's my favorite of like those grade 2 cycler cards, and I mean, she's just nice to have overall. You never really want to use the EB because, again, your main grade 3 requires 4 EB, and even though the 3 EB comes every turn for free, you're going to want to, you know, save that up for the main Vanguard. But hey, if you have the CB running around, definitely use her as a 4 of. And we have 4 copies of Full Pigment Dragon. I would say this card is really good. I would, but I can't because it doesn't like showing up. I've used it like, what, twice in all the matches I played with this deck. And by twice, I don't mean like, oh, in those matches, I played it like twice, or in those matches that I played it at least once in both those matches, and then I proceeded to have it on board the entire game. No. What I mean is in those 2 matches, it entered the board once, and then it never hit it again. But anyways, grade 2 and stuff 5, Kashio, 10k base, all the rear guard when you attacks and anything. If your Vanguards are grade 3 guard or so large, just CB once and another front rear guard, solo draw a card. Okay, if it didn't cost a CB, this would be great, because just send another front rearguard to soul, opens up rearguard circles for Oselargest superior call skill, gets you a free draw. It would combo with Tilligan, who then soul blast to get you more draws. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they added a soul CB cost this, because this deck, it makes this deck so much more CB heavy. Especially because this support card, which is actually really good, costs CB. Like, this is fine costing CB. This didn't need to be CB costed. I don't know why they made the CB cost it, because you want to use the CB on Oselargest search skill, you want to use it on sending 3 cards to soul, especially if you're using Tilligan, because that essentially makes Tilligan free. If you do want to run this, like any other generic card, more likely than not, it's going to take CB, unless it's something like Brainwash. So, I don't know why that costs CB. But at least it's an on attack, and it does get you an extra soul card and possibly a hand card as well. So it's not bad, and it doesn't need to attack into a specific unit or a specific grade card either. So it's not bad. I just wish it didn't cost a CB. 4 of, because soul, I guess. Let me have 4 copies of a really good support card who I wish I could use more if I wasn't so focused on trying to get draws from you, and that is Skillful Entertainer. Grade 2 to 5 Kashio, 10k base, auto when placed on rearguard circle. If your Vanguards are grade 3 guard or Oselargest, CB1, choose 3 cards from your drop zone, shove them to soul. Okay, cool. Simple CB, free 3 soul. My thing that I want about this Oselargest deck is that a lot of the cards support soul charging, which is fine, but then literally none of the cards, except for one, and that one being this one, don't do anything when either placed from soul or don't have ways to call from soul. Like, there are more ways to call from soul via dark states, but a lot of them aren't generic, and the ones that are, they have some level of drawback. Like, for example, Vedrock, I believe, doesn't require Blagdemire for the soul call, but it goes to soul back at the end of the turn if you're not on a Blagdemire. So I wish they did something more with the soul charges, but hey, it is what it is, and it's a free soul charge for 1 CB, so I'm not against Skillful Entertainer. It's not a bad grade 2. Again, I wish Full Pigment didn't cost CB. This one I'm fine costing CB because it essentially makes Tilligan free if you use both of his skills that turn, so it's a nice 4 for me. Then we have one of in the red deck, none in the main deck of our last grade 2 in the deck, and that is Steam Trimmer Nuba Chardor. Grade 2 and stuff 5 Kashio Tenga base. I really love the gear scythe he has. I wish this was a grade 2 that we got from Timestamp, but you know what is what it is. Auto and Rotopon back, grade 3 card or swords in the card name. If your soul is 4 more cards, draw a card. Okay, wait, I'm gonna go really off topic real quickly because the thought ran through my mind. They had 5 promo decks. At the time that DZ start decks came out, they had at least 1 grade 3 per nation. That was a promo that they could have made a deck around. There was Peltra for Lyrica Monasterio. There was either of the 2 stealth units or Spado Marquis for Dragon Empire, Hamvalid for Keter Sanctuary, Timestamp for this one, and then Stoicheia had the Claudine Girl, and then Brancate. Brancate has an Endoglemma, but the point is this: they had a lot of decks that they could have chose from, and instead of supporting decks that a lot of people like, they just chose to make 5 new ones or 6 new ones, and then have people shit on them. I'm just saying, but she had options, and they chose to make the shittier option. Either way, though, having 4 more soul when being Rotopine by a grade 3 card or Oselargest in the card name just to get a draw isn't bad, especially because you're guaranteed to hit that 4 soul thanks to featuring Balancer. You get 1 from your starter, you get 1 from the grade 1, it counts itself as well, so you get 1 from the grade 2, so that's 3, and the grade 1 gives you 2 free soul, so you have 5 soul, so you have 1 to spare. So if you want to soul blast it on whatever the hell you want, you can. Like, say, for example, you found a way to call this guy early, just go ahead and use it. Aron, or say, for example, the card you soul charge was an Oselargest, there you go. But either way, though, being able, or not, there you go, this one, nope, never mind. That one doesn't. That one went proper. You get my point. But either way, though, being able to draw a card just by simply having 4 more soul is great, especially because the deck automatically does it for you. And it contains guard circle. If your vanguards are great, 3 guard Oselargest is a 10k shield. So if it's a superior call target, if you Oselargest is not bad. You know, it's a free 15k shield. The only downside is that if you're calling this, you probably have nothing better in soul because you probably have a bunch of triggers. Or you have these two who you can't use because you used up all your CB either using the other one and you used up your CB using Oselargest skill. But hey, you know what? Nice way to get hand cards, and it's a 15k shield in case you really need to call for Oselargest skill, so it's a nice one in the right deck. Moving on to our grade 3s. 4 copies of Steam Artist Tilligan, grade 3 to 9% 13k base. Auto and placed on rearguard circle from your soul. Put into rearguard circle from your soul, not placed from rearguard from your soul. If your vanguards are grade 3 rearguard or Oselargest, soul blast any 2 cards with different card names from this card from your soul. So the 2 cards you soul blast, they can be the same name. Let's say, for example, you have 2 copies of Skill for Entertainer. You can soul blast both of them. You just can't soul blast a copy of Tilligan, and then you get to draw a card. So cool. It's a nice way to use up soul that you may have gained before, so you do get to draw. The downside is this does eat into your soul a little bit, so always be careful, especially because Oselargest wants to call from soul. Really weird that, you know, everyone else's support card was just a simple CB1 draw card, and this one still happened to be you specifically have to soul blast 2 cards, so you have to go against what the deck wants for, you know, alternate superior call targets just to get a draw. If this makes this the worst grade 3 in my opinion, but whatever. And as others goes, auto rear guard when you attacks on anything, if soul blast 1, it takes 5 power for that battle. If you soul blast a grade 3 good or Oselargest, get a 15k instead. Okay. 28k swing. It's not bad. I still don't like this card compared to other grade 3s because, you know, Strike Command got a crit. Respino, I forgot what its bounce skill was. What's it called? Sarvalso's literally got you an energy charge or counter charger, making it the best. Astrom's card at least allowed it to multi-attack more. Cristonios' card allowed it to multi-attack more. Tilligan only made it a plus 15k. Actually, wait, no, yeah, Respino also got plus 15k, but at least that one skill wasn't anti the deck. It was literally when it's bounced, CB1, draw a card. This is Soul Blast 2 against a deck that wants cards in Soul. So Tilligan is not a bad grade 3, but it like so much it goes against what the deck wants that you have to run generic cards to balance this thing out. It is a way to increase hand cards though. And it is a 28k swing if you get an Oselargest in there. And with Dark States being what it is, if you just ran a bunch of Soul Chargers or you just spam the hell out of Skill for Entertainer, you can combo it well with skillfully. Aha, get the joke there. You use Skill for Entertainer into something like Tuda or Dangerous Thrower and bot deck all of your Oselargest that you're Soul Blasting out. Hope that you still have a Persona right in hand and then just keep swinging at your opponent with high numbers. Aron Tilligan is not a bad grade 3. I just wish he was better, but it is what it is, so he's a 4 in this deck. And then finally, our main grade 3. 3 of the main deck, 1 of the red deck of, unfortunately, the most disappointing of the grade 3s. You see, I would say Cristonios is the most disappointing of the grade 3s, but, you know, Cristonios actually got support that helped him, so I can't even say that Oselargest makes me feel better. Anyways, Crow Demonic Beast Lord Oselargest. Grade 3 to the Persona 13k base. Active Vanguard once per turn. CB1, search your deck for up to 1 copy with this card. Reveal player to hand, shuffle your deck, and this unit has power for the turn. So cool, 23k base, not bad for just a simple CB. And then Auto Vanguard, when it swings into a Vanguard, Energy Blast 4, choose a great deals card for your soul. Call it to rearguard circle, give that unit the power for the turn. Okay, Superior Calls gives a 10k. It's not bad. Again, I wish the Energy Blast versus Energy Blast 3 because that'd be so much simpler and it would have been a lot better introducing the energy mechanic. And this card's fine. Again, don't get me wrong. This skill is fine considering it like fits the theme of all of them except for, you know, Cristonios where they're all just like on attack abilities. It's just the fact that the deck has a bunch of Soul Chargers, but then like none of them get power from it or like any other benefit from it, and then your supporting grade 3 or your main supporting grade 3 literally is anti-soul charge because it takes up 3 soul to use both of its abilities once in 1 turn, which kind of sucks, but it's not bad. Like, Oselargest itself isn't bad, but, like, the support feels like it needs to be more focused, in my opinion, where they either gain more numbers, that's honestly what happens with the deck. It feels like it wants more numbers, or it gets more multi-attack consistently, or it doesn't cost soul for the main supporting grade 3. But it is what it is. So, Oselargest is a nice one of them in the right deck. It at least does inherently get multi-attack, and it pretty much guarantees whatever you're multi-attacking with is going to hit the opponent's Vanguard, because it does give it 10k. The only way that it's not hitting the opponent's Vanguard is they get a trigger, but I mean, hey, that's what you can swing into rear guards for, and so force a decent drop out of it. And it just get itself a free search, so it's a 23k, so it's not bad. All around, it's a nice 3 of the main deck, 1 of the right deck. Without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you enjoyed. This deck is fun to play when it chooses to not do this where either like Tilligan only shows up and then you don't see any of your other support cards, or you don't see PGs for some reason. Like, the deck genuinely does work, and it does have some nice interactions where if you soul charge Oselargest, like if you soul charge a copy of Oselargest early enough and then you have a Persona right in hand, they work really well in tandem because, you know, you can soul blast out that card with Tilligan, and then you can combo it with like Dangerous Thrower and Tuda, and there are ways you can increase your chance of seeing that by playing more soul charges like Framewash Swirler. But like, when it just comes to using the deck's own support, it feels like there's so much lacking from it, not in a sense of like where other decks have that lacking, where Orsolar just sees what it wants and it just won't take it for some reason. Either way though, that's it for this one. I hope all of you enjoyed. This deck is fun to play, and I would suggest you try it out if you really want to try out Oselargest. And I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us, and don't forget to set up your Vanguards.